Folks, a major development out of Washington, D.C. Senator Mitch McConnell will be stepping down as the Senate's Republican leader come November, which ends I think, the longest run in one of the most powerful positions in Washington, D.C. I want to bring in now South Carolina Senator Tim Scott. Senator Scott, your colleague, Senator McConnell, saying that, quote, "This will be my last term as Republican leader in the Senate. I'm not going anywhere. It's time now for new leadership, a new generation of leadership." And I also wonder if this confirms it's time for a new way for the GOP in general.
Well, there's no doubt, Charles, that we should thank Senator McConnell for his service, number one. Number two, he said something in his speech that I thought was really important. An underappreciated talent is knowing when to leave. According to his own comments, it's time for a shift in the Republican Party and new leadership. That's good news from my perspective. Senator McConnell served well, but more importantly, it is time for us to win back the majority in the Senate, to win back the White House, to hold on to the House, so that we can continue to do the things that we did, Charles, from 2017 to 2020. Think about the things we accomplished when we had the majorities. We saw the greatest tax cut in the history of America, more than $2.3 trillion. And those tax cuts expire next year.
Right.
So having a leader who is committed for the long haul is really important. Think about my opportunity zones. Think about the fact that we brought unemployment rates for African Americans, Hispanics, and Asians to the lowest levels ever. Think about the funding for HBCUs. We have to be focused on winning the majority, and I thank Senator McConnell for recognizing it was time for us to move on. And that's good news for the country because he has served well, but it's good news for our future because he says it is time for new leadership as well.
You know what else I think it's time for, and I think it's happening? Time for political parties to listen to the people, to the voters, right? I mean,
Amen.
We heard that in Michigan yesterday. Look at the results from that primary. Absolutely phenomenal. There was a direct message about the party wanting to re-embrace, on the Republican side, President Trump. And there was a rebuke by a lot of Democrats of Joe Biden there. So we're seeing the grassroots have their voices heard rather than the party dictating to them. And I think that's the change that we needed to see big time. I want to talk now about something that you're doing because you've played such an amazing role trying to change lives in so many ways. You're hosting a roundtable. It's entitled Empowering Main Street. It's a roundtable discussion on the expanding opportunities for minority communities and financial services. Senator Scott, tell us about it.
Well, the one thing we're going to do as we conclude Black History Month is to recognize the powerful impact of having a Black Futures conversation. That conversation should focus on access to credit for small minority businesses and entrepreneurs. The one thing we know about America is that when there's a level playing field, all Americans do better. And so one of the ways that we level the playing field is to have a conversation about financial literacy that leads to the path to success. For businesses, I was a small business owner. The one thing I can tell you is understanding the quagmire pit of finding the credit you need, having access to cash is incredibly important. That doesn't matter whether you're Black, whether you're white, whether you're Hispanic or Asian or Native American. What we do know, however, is that the impediments or the obstacles in the way can be removed if we are better educated on how to find the source of funding that we need. Participation in the marketplace is absolutely essential if we are going to understand that the American dream is alive and well for all of Americans, especially the ones living today in poverty like I did 50 years ago. You
know, Senator Scott, and it not only does it cover all ages, ranges, races, and all, it covers both sides of the aisle. I actually had a progressive who's trying to change, the home ownership in this country, and he says his main job right now isn't trying to get people to buy a house; it's learning how to balance a checkbook, creating a budget, doing all of those things first, so that you create a sort of a foundation so that you can start a business, so that eventually you can buy a house. So it seems like everyone's sort of focused on, let's get to the roots of these issues rather than complaining. Let's get some solutions. And you're a solutions-driven person, and that's why you're so highly regarded. And I really appreciate your time today, Senator Tim Scott.
Thank you, Charles.
All right, buddy. See you soon. Thank you.